But are you nuts?
We're going to talk about it today, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, everyone. This is Financial Literacy 101. I thought I would take some time to really break down the main reason why Dr. Martin Luther King got killed in the very first place. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read some passages from his last speech. Is the main reason why he has got killed, because we need to understand when Martin Luther King started getting on board with Elijah Muhammad and as well as Malcolm X and started talking about black nationalism and boycotting white establishment and for us to use cooperative economics, this is the main reason why he So let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to read some of his sermon, some of his speech right here, right now. Now, the other things we have to do is this. Always anchor our external direction, action with the power of economic withdrawal. Now we are poor people. Individually, we are poor. When you compare us with white society in America, we are poor. Now, again, this speech happened back in 1968, and this is still relevant today. Never stop and forget the collectively. That means all of us together, collectively, we are richer than all the nations in the world, with the exception of 9. Do you ever think about after you leave the United States, Soviet Russia, Great Britain, West Germany, and France, and I could name others, the American Negro is richer than most nations of the world. We have an annual income of more than $30 billion a year. Now take it. We're down at $1.3 trillion a year, which is more than all of the exports of the United States and more than the national budget of Canada. Did you know that? That's power right there if you know how to pool it together. This is Dr. Martin Luther King. This is his last speech. I've been to the mountaintop. He's talking about social economics. He's talking about group economics. He's talking about cooperative economics. We don't have to argue with anybody. We don't have to curse and go around acting bad without words. We don't need any bricks or bottles. We don't need any Molotov cocktails. We just need to go to those stores and to these massive industries in this country to say that you're not going to treat us like this. And we'll come by here to ask you to make the first item on your agenda fair treatment. Now, if you're not prepared to do that, we do have an agenda that we must follow, and our agenda calls for withdrawing economic support from you. Do you understand what Dr. Martin Luther King, how he got killed, how he was assassinated? Because he started talking about black people not spending money in a racist system. Does everyone understand that? Now, a lot of people believe that this was solely targeted at sanitation. Okay, because he was preaching to some sanitation workers of the treatment they were receiving, I believe, in Alabama. I'm not quite sure in the city. Give me 1 second. Let me just fact check that very quickly. I think, Memphis, Tennessee, I believe. Memphis, Tennessee. But let me continue to read because this is very important. I want to read some of that last passage very quickly. He said, you're not going to treat us like this. You will give us fair treatment because we have an agenda. And if you don't, if you're not prepared to do that, he's talking to white America. We do have an agenda. We have an agenda that we must follow. And our agenda calls for withdrawal, economic support from you. This is Dr. Martin Luther King talking to the powers that be, talking to the white establishment. Then he started naming names. See, things get very volatile, get very dangerous when you start naming names. Let's keep that into perspective. He says, and so as a result of this, we are asking you tonight to go out and tell your neighbors. Listen to this. He's telling people to go out and tell your neighbors not to buy Coca-Cola in Memphis. But in essentially, don't buy Coca-Cola, period. This is starting a boycotting. He said, tell your neighbors not to buy Coca-Cola. Go buy and tell them not to buy Sealy's milk. Tell them not to buy Wonder Bread. Tell them not to buy Jesse's bread or Hart's bread. As Jesse Jackson has said, up to now, only the garbage men have been feeling pain. Now we must kind of redistribute that pain. We are choosing these companies because they haven't been fair in their hiring policies. And we are choosing them because they can begin the process of saying they are going to support the needs and the rights of these men who are on strike. And then they can move on downtown and tell Mayor Law to do what's right. This is Dr. Martin Luther King's last speech, and this has everything to do with group economics. It has everything to do with pulling our money together in order for our own cause. Now, not only that, we've got to strengthen Black institutions. I call upon you to take your money out of the banks downtown. Listen to this. He is telling Black people to take their money out of white establishment. When you start playing with people's money, things become very, very dangerous for you. Very, very dangerous. So this is the main reason why I believe Dr. Martin Luther King got assassinated, because when he first said this speech, he got assassinated 7 or 8 months after. We have to be very cognizant of the timeline. And then he said this speech publicly, and then very next day he got killed. He got assassinated. Let me read this last paragraph. Not only that, we've got to strengthen our Black institutions. That's called Black empowerment. I call upon you to take your money out of the banks downtown and deposit your money in Tri-State Bank. That's a Black-owned bank. We want a bank in movement in Memphis. Go by the Savings and Loan Association. I'm not asking you something that we don't do ourselves. Judge Hooks and others will tell you that we have an account here in the Savings and Loan Association from the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. We're telling you to follow what we're doing. Put your money there. You have 6 or 7 Black insurance companies here in the city of Memphis. They said, don't insure yourselves with white establishment, insure yourself with Black establishment. This is Black economics. This is Black nationalism. Take out of your insurance there. We want to have an insurance in. Now, these are some practices, these are some practical things that we can do. We begin the process of building a greater economic base, and at the same time, we are putting pressure where it really hurts. And I ask you to follow through here. Now, let me say, as I move to my conclusion, that we've got to give ourselves to this struggle until the end. Nothing would be more tragic than to stop at this point in Memphis. We've got to see it through. And when we have our march, you need to be there. If it means leaving work, if it means leaving school, be there. Be concerned about your brother. You may not be on strike, but either we go up together or we go down together. Let's develop a kind of dangerous selfishness. This is Dr. Martin Luther King. See, they would like to let you know about I had a dream, but they won't tell you about the speech. I've been to the mountaintop. This is what he was saying in the end of the speech. This is what he was saying. Not only that, we've got to strengthen Black institutions. He said, take your money from out of the banks downtown and deposit your money in Tri-State Bank, which is a black bank. Take your money out of the white insurance companies and put them in these black insurance companies. This is what Martin Luther King was talking about. This is about black nationalism. Now, black nationalism here is a type of nationalism or pan-nationalism, which exposes the belief that black people are a race and seeks to develop and maintain a black team. Black nationalism activists revolve black communities and people, especially to resist assimilation into white culture, and that's through integration or otherwise, and maintain a distinct black identity. If you guys watched my live cast today, I was speaking to a brother from Nigeria, and he was breaking down how they do cooperative economics. Now, a lot of people know this is not new in America, but the problem is a lot of the black community, we don't practice group economics. We don't practice group economics at all. And Dr. Martin Luther King, Marcus Garvey, Frederick Douglass, Malcolm X, they all was in cahoots about black nationalism. John Henry Clark, Francis L. Wilson, Dr. Claude Anderson, all of these great black people, they knew about group economics, and they knew we either going to rise together or we're going to fall together. The problem is we are so divided because of integration. Now, you preaching about segregation? No, I'm talking about it is what it is today. But we need to define ourselves of what we really want to do. A lot of the distrust in the black community doesn't come from the black community. We have outward sources that influence our community, mainly through media of some sort. And that is the issue. And this is one of the main reasons why these two prominent people like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King got assassinated. Now, we know that Martin Luther King probably would still be alive today, or, at the end of his life, so to speak. But he would have been alive another 20, 30 years if he did not write this speech, if he did not speak this speech. Just like I Had a Dream speech, he had read that speech a couple of times, a couple of places. Then he had to do it on the national platform, which made it most famous. They wasn't going to let this speech get out like that. I've been to the mountaintop. In the beginning of this speech, I just want to, he said some very distinctive things here in the beginning. He said, I will move on by Greece and take my mind to Mount Olympus, and I will see Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, Euripides, and Aphares assemble around the Pantheon. And I will watch them around the Pantheon as they discuss the great and eternal issues of reality, but I wouldn't stop there. I will go on even to the great heyday of the Roman Empire, and I will see developments around there through various emperors and leaders, but I wouldn't stop there. I would even come up to the day of the Renaissance and get a quick picture of all the Renaissance did for the cultural and aesthetic life of man, but I wouldn't stop there. I would even go by the way that the man for whom I'm named had his habitat, and I will watch Martin Luther as his taxes 95 on these doors of the Church of Wittenberg, but I wouldn't stop there. I will come up onto 1863 and watch a vigilant president by the name of Abraham Lincoln finally come to the conclusion that he had signed the Emancipation Proclamation, but I wouldn't stop there. I will come up to the early 30s and see a man grappling with the problems of bankruptcy of his nation and come with the eloquency cry that we have nothing to fear but fear itself, but I wouldn't stop there. Strangely enough, I would turn to the Almighty and say, if you allow me to live just a few years in the second half of the 20th century, I will be happy. We're talking about black progression, and this is how he was assassinated. Because not everybody was a follower of Malcolm X. So if you didn't follow Malcolm X, then you definitely follow Martin Luther King back in the day. These were the two great leaders that they had to assassinate, ladies and gentlemen. They had to assassinate these people. Because Martin Luther King started talking about black nationalism and boycotting. And boycotting. It's a long speech. I took out some prevalent parts of that speech because it's very imperative that we understand this. A lot of black prominent people, if you talk to them on a one-on-one basis, they will absolutely confess to you that they believed that integration was the worst thing for Black people because we were doing better by ourselves than we are now. And when Martin Luther King started to talk about taking your money out of white banks, taking your money out of white insurance company, and boycotting Coca-Cola and other large corporations and organizations in Memphis, here's the thing. Anything that Martin Luther King did is spread nationwide. Do you understand what I'm talking about? A lot of things he did spread nationwide. So they knew if it would have started in Memphis, this will continue to grow. And the main thing, let me go back. He said something very, very prominent. Let me go back. He was talking about, and don't let up. Don't let up until it's complete. He was about finishing the work. Have you guys noticed that? MLK was about finishing the work. He continued to fight, strive, protest, and march until it was complete. So what white supremacists knew, if we allow Martin Luther King to become national with this speech, Black people are going to listen, for one, and then two, this is going to spread across the entire nation, and it's going to hurt organizations and businesses because, as he said, back there in the 60s, they had $30 billion of spending power. Now we have 1.3 trillion. But a lot of us are so diabolically estranged from each other. We're so divided, even our families, that this will be hard to do. Is it possible? Yes. But we need more and more people in small circles, in big circles, to start talking about pooling together to pull ourselves out all the way while we're putting pressure on the powers that be to give us our reparations. I'm not saying stop the fight about reparations. Oh, no. Give us what you owe us. Because time and time again, I've heard this argument about Native Americans. Well, the Native Americans, you know, they've been through a lot of atrocities. They've been through a lot of, I can't even, I'm a loss of word because I'm in my head so much right now. But supposedly, when they took the land from the Native Americans, and we really think about the timeline, the descendants of the Native Americans that are on these reservations, they get federal government monthly stipends that none of them pay taxes. Okay, if they're subscribed and they live on a reservation, they don't pay tax and they get a monthly stipend and they get a place to live. When you really think about that, who are the people who are here today? This happened a long time ago. They are the descendants of the other Native Americans that were killed. And they're still receiving reparation year after year, decade after decade. So when I hear people, even Black people, tell me, oh man, you know, they ain't gonna give us nothing. Okay, but we need to apply pressure. Sometimes I get weird, like, I'm gonna keep fighting, but that's not the mindset I think we should have. We should have, if we continue to apply pressure, they will give us what we want. But it starts with speeches. It starts with actions, like what Martin Luther King was talking about. Stop spending your money here. Stop going out and voting for nothing. We vote for nothing. We didn't demand, we didn't ask Joe Biden for anything. The only thing that we wanted as a collaborating group, because I know I didn't, was to have Donald Trump out of the presidency, which I could care less. Oh, well, Donald Trump's a racist. All of them, in a sense, are suspected racists. We're so focused on the small thing, no one's looking at the big picture. When you start to look at other ethnic groups and all of the benefits and subsidies and cash payments that they receive from this government, and you look at how we are and where we are, we don't receive those same things. Not on a systematic level. No, we do not. We need to be strategizing the way that we go about this. And if you notice, MLK, he said, we have an agenda. That's very important because even I, at one point, was looking for the next leader. I'm like, oh, well, what about Farrakhan? He could be the next black leader. What about Dr. Claude Anderson? He could be the next black leader. But the point is, ladies and gentlemen, we don't need a leader because the leaders get assassinated. See, we need to change the paradigm. We need to shift this thing. We need an agenda because they can never kill an agenda. If we had 10 million, 15 million foundational black Americans all with the same agenda, then they'll have to kill all 15 million of us. All 15 million of us, they will have to kill in order for the agenda to die. They understood when they killed Malcolm X, a lot of black people started going back home and start protesting. They understood when they killed Martin Luther King that a lot of black people stopped being out in the street protesting and rallying. They went back to their houses. So in that last speech of his, he said we need to have an agenda. We need to follow an agenda, and we need to continue to follow the agenda until we get the results that we want. Everybody loves MLK, but love him for the right reasons. Love him for the fact that he knew that the way he went about integration in his last speech, he knew he was wrong. Just read it. Just read it. Read, I've been to the mountaintop. Because he's going to tell you about cooperative economics. He's going to tell you about black nationalism in that speech. And this is the main reason why I believe he got assassinated. You talking about black empowerment. You're talking about black progression. You're talking about taking your money out of white banks, taking your money out of white insurance companies and depositing those monies inside of black institutions to empower black communities, to really strengthen black business districts. Are you telling us that, Martin Luther King? Are you telling us that you're going to protest Coca-Cola, that you're going to boycott Coca-Cola? Oh, no, we can't have that. So he was killed. A lot of us are so afraid of living that we're actually the living dead. We're zombies because we're afraid to die. Think about that. We're so afraid to die, we won't fight for anything. We won't fight for anything. So what am I getting at? The next freaking time that the 4 years come around and you're worried about who's the next president going to be, I want you to look back. Not just over Joe Biden's presidency, not just over Donald Trump's presidency, not just over Barack Obama's presidency, but I want you to look at results. How did these presidents change your life and your community? How? Then I want you to compare it against all the other communities in the United States of America in this corporation. And you will see that Asian lives have been affected by policies in a positive way. Hispanic lives and communities have been affected in a positive and beneficiary and economic way. And Muslims and Catholics and Jewish, they have been benefiting from regulations, policies, bills, and laws that previous presidents before Joe Biden had even came into office according to the agenda and the demands that they've met. But see, our list of demands, our agenda is just, as long as you get Donald Trump out of office, that's all I need. What about the rest of us? We are the poorest, sickest, unhealthiest group in America. And it's not by our own fault. I am tired of people from this country and other countries telling us that we need to pull ourselves out from our bootstrap and don't have an idea of what we have been going through and what our ancestors, our mothers and fathers, our grandfathers and grandmothers have been through. They have no idea, but they don't like to speak on our issues. I tell them to shut their fucking mouth because they don't have no idea. And then you got these black bootlicks and Sambos and coons out there who had an opportunity, who white supremacy have given them a chance, they would like to speak on the rest of the population like they're just ignorant Negroes that don't know any better. I always like to ask people, can you define the why? Well, the why is people just love welfare too much. That's not the why. There's a lot of people in black neighborhoods, low-income neighborhoods, black neighborhoods, that are psychologically already defeated. Psychologically already defeated by them trying and being denied. Also, they've been defeated by their mothers and fathers of their mindset. Like, hey, in this white man's world, don't expect to get much out of it. They started training us at a very young age, and we grow up already being defeated about how white supremacy has already kept us in a place that we can't get out. Think about that. How is it the most intelligent, the most powerful people on earth are the scum of the earth in this country and many others? How are we the first civilization? How are we the one who first built the skyscrapers, first built ships that go across international waters? How are we the poorest people on the earth collaboratively? We're either in America, Great Britain, Africa, or the Caribbean, or South America. We're the poorest people everywhere we go. Why is that? If you don't think this is systematic, then you are the fool. Them pyramids didn't build themselves. And neither did any damn aliens. I'm tired of hearing that too. But this is why Martin Luther King got killed. Because when you start talking about unity, when you start talking about cooperative economics, you start to cut the legs right off of any man or woman in the black community. You talking about women, y'all pooling together, taking your money out of white banks? Oh, hell no. We got to kill Martin Luther King. But guess what? It worked. It worked. We still don't support black banks. We still don't support black businesses. We have all sorts of black businesses that we can support. And when white America actually starts to see that we are no longer supporting their businesses and we're supporting our own, they're going to start to ask the question, what can we do to stop this? Or what can we do to have them to come back? It should be one word out your guys' mouth: reparations. Oh man, I know some of y'all, oh man, they ain't gonna give no damn reparations. If you keep saying it, then they won't. We gotta apply pressure at every turn. And Martin Luther King knew what we had to do, and that is why they killed him. He said, take your money out of the white banks. Take your money out of the white insurance companies. Stop buying Coca-Cola. Stop buying Wonder Bread. I know some of you remember Wonder Bread. He started boycotting businesses. You start hitting them where it hurts. And see, dealing with Rosa Parks, boycotting the bus system, he already had a theory that was proven. He already knew that this was going to work. And it would have. That's why we must follow an agenda and not follow one person, because one person, two people, three people, a group can get killed. But when you start talking about 15 million people, 40 million foundational Black Americans, I mean, can we get 25% of us to be united? Can we get 50% of us to be united? And I say this many a times. I believe our most powerful options, okay, is one. Hold your vote. Oh man, my ancestors, man, they died for us for a chance to vote. No, they died for you the right to vote. It's a choice. It's a choice. You have the right to vote. It's kind of like you going to work. Some people feel like they gotta go to work. No, you don't have to go to work. You get fired, but you don't have to go. You do have a choice. And the other one is boycotting. You hit people where it hurts. You hurt their money, then they will start to feel the pain and pressure. And these organizations, believe it or not, who support the federal government, whether they support Democrats or Republicans, you know, they start, hey, can y'all get them damn black people some reparations? Give them some grants, give them some cash payments, give them some resources, increase the economic empowerment of the communities. Can you do something? They're not buying our products anymore. They will get on the phone and have these conversations. But the problem is we're still out there buying European clothing, buying Italian clothing. We're still out there shopping in the same places we shop. We're not going to WeBuyBlack.com or the black-owned market. The only thing you need to do is type up black businesses, black-owned businesses. We have a black-owned restaurant here. We went. It was delicious. It was a very nice restaurant. It wasn't True Kitchen. It was called Pangera. Very nice black-owned restaurant. This Saturday night, if you watched my cigar talk, I was actually, essentially letting people know about a black-owned cigar company called Definition Cigars. We have to support our black businesses. This is how we empower ourselves when we support ourselves. This is why Martin Luther King got killed. Of this very thing right here and right now. Let me point this out right here because this is very pertinent too. Somebody owes us a check. And see, some of us are so built on, Donald Trump. Stop it. I don't care about Donald Trump. I don't care about Joe Biden. What I care about what we are owed. Everybody's getting paid except us. Kate Buffalo, they will never cut a check. It's cheaper to pay half the population to kill the other half. Okay, good point. But we got to apply pressure at every turn. They know they can't afford to give us anything significant. Our ability to excel is powerful. History has proven this. Exactly. And here's another thing. Let me say this, Prime X. They can afford to give each foundational Black American a check. This is why Martin Luther King was killed. This is Financial Literacy 101. Learn money and be inspired. And let's start to think about so we can start to implement cooperative economics. I'm out.